You can see behind me there, just down about right there, there's a little pool of water at the base of that rocky cliff. And this is in the bottom of a deep canyon, really rugged country. This is Baja California Sur. So it is covered in cactus and mesquite and all these really harsh desert plants for a reason. There's not a lot of water here. Right now it's January. There hasn't been any rain for several months down here. And up there, up in the high country, you're not going to find any water up in there. I mean, rarely. There might be a few exceptions where you can get into some little slot canyons and things, but typically you're going to find water in the bottom of all the deepest drainages or right at the top of a where a canyon starts. Okay, but it's going to be in some kind of canyon. You know, I've ran into some tough situations in Coahuila before, and there's definitely things about the terrain that you can read that will tell you where there might be water. It's not always a guarantee, but if you look across the canyon from me here and you look at all the sides of this, there's no big sheer rock cliffs over on that side. And that's one indication to me that I would not find water over on that side of the canyon. It tends to be right at the bottom of a big cliff like you have right here. Okay. Um, Again, not always the case. There might not be water at every single one of these, but you're upping the probability that you will find it if you search for these kinds of places where you have this nice cliff face that comes down. And especially in this case, you can see that there's like a dip where the terrain is dug out pretty low right at the base of this. Now, some of that might be because animals are attracted to it. They're also digging at it and making it even deeper, right? So there's kind of that feedback loop of why this is an indentation. But also, you'll find some of these shallow spots right at the base of these cliffs in many different places, and those are going to be your highest probability locations for finding water. I had a time in Coahuila where I was completely out, and I found my way into a canyon like this, found a sheer rock cliff that ran right into the ground, and at the base of that, there was a dinner plate sized pool of water seeping into the ground right out of the base of those rocks. And that's where I camped out for the night, and that was my saving grace for finding water on that trip. There's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of exceptions, right? But this is just kind of a general rule. Now, you might think that if I'm talking about canyons, you could just go to the very bottom of any canyon and find water. Like I said, there's exceptions. A lot of times at the very bottom, where you get the dry arroyos that wash out into the open valleys and the open deserts that are more flat, a lot of times everything is already dried out by the time it's gotten there. So you might need to make your way up a little bit further into the canyon into more of a sweet spot before you're going to find some of those little seeps and pools. And sometimes you even find like really good sized pools of water and springs. In this particular canyon in Baja, there's a couple of pools of water in here that you could swim in. And there's palm trees and tons of animal life and signs all over the place. Now, you also have to be careful that you're not drinking completely stagnant water that has algal blooms in it. Even if you boil that, it's not going to kill the toxins that algae can put off. So that I'll talk about in a whole other video. But in general, you can find drinkable water in a lot of these small pools in these canyons like this more often than you might think.